An investigation is now underway after this Humble, Texas ISD teacher was caught on video assaulting a student. The incident occurred Wednesday in a Humble high school classroom. Other students tried to break it up, but the teacher refused to let the young man go, eventually wrestling him to the floor. The student's father, Elvert Bolden, told Fox 26 the video of his son's assault is hard to watch, and that it's even more difficult to watch knowing rather it's a teacher putting his hands on the teen. So is this appropriate behavior for a teacher? Even the teacher's own policy state the only time you're supposed to use force like that is if the student is physically harming another student or he's hurting you, adds Bolden, who says school officials told him there was a substitute in his son's class at Humble High School Wednesday. So the English teacher went into the class to tell his 10th grade son he was too loud and stayed in his face antagonizing him. My son told him, "You told me to be quiet, I'm not saying nothing else." And that's when I was told the teacher snatched the chair from under my baby. This upset dad says the teacher created chaos in the classroom and he believes the video shows a crime being committed against his son. I want him arrested, charges filed. I want his teacher's license revoked. I don't want him to be able to go to any school in any state and be able to teach another child in the event he may do this again. If I would have put my hands on my baby, I would have been in jail. He says his son who was left limping on crutches, rather bruised, significant swelling, had to be taken to the emergency room. But Bolden says he's unsure his teen would have been, he is sure rather his teen would have been taken to jail if he had behaved like the teacher. Well, you're right about that, Dad. Bolden says he's now worried about his son's mental health. How's my son going to be mentally? We already see how he is physically he'll heal. Me, myself, my wounds from the military healed, but I still deal with the invisible wounds of PTSD. Dr. Elizabeth Fagan, Humble ISD superintendent. Humble ISD issued a statement condemning the incident, stating the teacher had been put on leave. The district also said it is unlikely he will be returning when the investigation concludes. Is that enough, Rayyvana? And do you have any disagreement? I'll just throw up a softball here that had the teenager done to someone else, the teacher, what the teacher did to him, that they would have dragged him out of there in cuffs.
Oh, they absolutely would have dragged him out of there in handcuffs and traumatized him further. But I used to work in a school for children with behavioral and developmental disabilities. So we had pretty extensive training on when it's appropriate to do restraints in schools. Fortunately, I never had to be involved in that. But one of the first things they teach you is that you never use restraints, which slamming him up against the wall is not any sort of recognized restraint. But even in the case where you're using a recognized restraint, it's never to be used to get a child to behave the way that you want them to behave. It's never a disciplinary action like it was in this case. And I know that teaching is a stressful job. I've done it. It's hard, but one of the things about that job is that you need to check your emotions at the door and you need to take care of yourself before you go in to work around the children, because you can't be projecting whatever's going on in your home life onto these children lest you be violent like this situation. And there needs to be further accountability for what's happened. He should be arrested and he should be charged.
And again, I don't have another backstory, but let's talk about what was reported here. Left one classroom, went into another classroom, made a beeline for this student, got in this student's face. Like, I have to believe that if you were to ask about this particular teacher, you probably would hear similar, whoa, when he's in a mood, there's no stopping him.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes people just snap and they have instances like this, but at the end of the day, what he did was so wrong. And he's, the father extensively in his interview talked about how his son's injured, but his physical injuries will heal, but he doesn't know about the mental injuries. And he talked about how the father was a soldier and his physical injuries have healed, but he still suffers from PTSD, and he doesn't want that to happen to his child. And he thinks a part of that healing process is going to be accountability for the person who wronged him. And I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, me too. And I love this, Dad, Rayyvana, and I'm going to tell you why. Here you have a father who is being emotionally vulnerable and open. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, come on, you just want lawsuits, civil suits, got to follow. I think it should. Okay, whatever. That's what this country is built on, that he's got to be reparations here, and that's fine by me. But the father, I think it's discounted too often about, you forget when you were that age and what a teacher meant to you. And when you're harmed by someone in authority, that does stay with you. That does color how you see yourself, how you see the world even. I don't think that that's a stretch, do you?
No, not at all. And I mean, there's a legal doctrine called in loco parentis, which means the school is the guardian of the child while it's under their care. So they're stepping in as the parent. And the father made a really good point in his interview where he said, if I had done this to my child, I would have been arrested. And it should be the same standard for the teacher who did it to his child, because they were in effect stepping in as the parent, as it were, and he harmed the child, and the same repercussions should be applied to him.
Yeah, and I think just like we talk about a database, perhaps for police officers who should not go to another jurisdiction and inflict upon the community, we need to start talking about it in some other professions too. I'm seeing the comments, and I hope we have time for those a little bit later, because people are all over this one.